Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Inside the OC podcast. My name is Matt Canizaro, and while it might be a dreary day around the United States today, weather-wise, it's going to be a delicious day here on the podcast. We've got Darryl, the Donut Carreon, coming on to talk about a couple 300 games at the Open Championships, and of course, joining us along the way will be the one and only Aaron Smith. Aaron, welcome.
Hello, Matthew. How are you doing?
Oh, all right. I know you are absolutely looking forward to this one for many reasons. Darryl is a young man who has become near and dear over the last 5 or 6 years after finding some success at the Open Championships. And now somebody we look forward to seeing at various events throughout the year. So it's going to be a good time. We're going to talk about all the usual things, COVID-19 and 2020, Open Championships, and so much more. That's a pretty good introduction, I think, there. Anything happening that we should catch up on before we bring in the young man from out east?
No, I think that's a pretty good start. Just like he got a pretty good start to his Open Championships career, rolling 300 in his very first event. And, as the social post mentioned, rolled a second one in 2019, one of just 32 players in history to do that. So elite company for Mr. Carreon. So, yeah, let's bring him in. Let's chat with the guy.
Well, it looks like in our chat so far we have a count. We'll see how many times we dropped the D word during today's podcast. Looking forward to that, of course. Anytime we get to talk about good eats, you've got my attention. But absolutely, let's bring him in. Keep calm and carry on. Darryl Carreon, welcome.
Hey, Matt and Aaron, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for
joining us. Appreciate it. Giving us a part of your day. How are things for you? That's usually how we start the show off is by catching up with what things are like in 2020. You're in the Virginia area, so an hour ahead of us out east there. Again, you mentioned the weather for you, a little bit frightful as well. 2020 kind of has that tone to it, but you've been staying busy. You got the wife, Jenny, a couple kids there to keep you on pace with everything in life. But tell us, how's the year been going for you, and how's work, how's life, how's the house, how's everything?
Yeah, it's been quite an interesting year. Being in the hospitality industry, especially. Unfortunately, travel's a little interesting for most. Being on the hotel side, unfortunately, our hotel hasn't quite made it open just yet. But I was fortunate enough to be able to hang on to a position. Even though right now it's still temporary, but I'm still staying optimistic that that things will get back to normal soon enough. As far as the bowling wise, I had about a 2-month layoff. During that time, spent a few minutes each day just doing simple drills here in the basement. Definitely picked up the fitness level quite a bit also. And just like you said, I gotta be able to work out just enough to put down more donuts, each week or every time I bowl also. But our tour rep Brett Spangler, we actually did a virtual 5K race. So some of the guys did a virtual 10 also, but it's just the extra motivation for when we get back onto the lanes there. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was positive. But with the family itself, we didn't get to skip down as much as we normally do each summer. Middle of July, we were actually able to head down to North Carolina for a few nights. Fairly quiet. Weather was great. And then the nice thing too is we went to one of the smaller beaches. So aside from like Myrtle Beach, Virginia Beach, it was a lot quieter, more peaceful, and with the whole COVID situation, it definitely wasn't as crowded. So that was a little blessing in disguise there.
Yeah. Very nice.
That's some clever wordplay, by the way. If for those who didn't catch it, the extra motivation And of course, we'll talk about your affiliation with the Motive brand and your success, of course, over the last 6 years. And it's pretty neat stuff. And then again, quality time at home with the family, always a cool thing. You guys are world travelers, it looks like, just from catching up with some of the things that you've been up to in recent years outside of bowling. Amazingly, you haven't traveled much for the bowling, but outside of that, the youngsters, both very well traveled so far early here in life. But I imagine it's been pretty tough to find things to do, keep everybody occupied at home during this time as well.
Yeah, during the the extra downtime that we have, trying to find like little things to do around here, just within the house itself. At times it can be kind of tricky, but my wife tries to give me a few extra things to do here and there. But yeah, I'm kind of a laid back and very patient, so I like to take my time doing stuff. Whether it's doing a full like deep clean around the house, doing some yard work. Yeah, I've definitely been lately, and you can actually catch it on some of my posts as well. Definitely been experimenting quite a bit, barbecuing, smoking some stuff on the grill itself. So gotta
speaking my language,
Daryl. Yeah, yeah. And of course, like fortunately enough, high priority for me. Like a lot of the local donut shops were open for the most part. So on the days I head into office, I like to sneak a little treat on the way home. But yeah, other than that, yeah. So the kids are doing the whole virtual school right now. They actually just started this week. So far so good. It's a little different, but the schools around here definitely help take care of the kids as far as like any devices. So got the kids on iPads and the laptop also. So.
All right, well, the youngsters, we got DJ is 8, right? And Jacob is 5. So right about the time where you started bowling. We're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes as well. Tell us about that. I think it's interesting. Again, your success at the OC came starting in 2014, but you've been long time bowling before that. And again, right now at the age where they are, maybe taking interest as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So growing up, I bowled my entire youth league over at Bowling Air Force Base, with my dad being a retired military. Spent I think it was like 31 years in the Navy. So and as far as like convenient wise, the bowling center at bowling just happened to be the closest one to our house. So every Saturday morning, either my mom or dad would take me up to league in the morning, and then back then, early 90s into like 2000. That's when bowling was especially big on TV. So we'd go to my youth league and then get home just in time to catch all the pros on TV. But through all the way through high school. So in high school also played tennis for our high school, singles for the most part, and at the same time between the bowling and tennis, trying to juggle the two. At the time, wasn't quite sure which direction I wanted to go to. Senior year, started battling a little bit of a knee injury, just which happens to kind of run in the bloodline. But yeah, which I'll talk more about that in a bit also. But and then started bowling my first adult league in 2004. I believe it was around like 2003, 2004. Just getting my foot in the door with some of the adult leagues around here. Wasn't as competitive bowler, coming out of youth, but till this day, I've actually got myself surrounded by a pretty good group of friends that like we're all like super competitive with each other. So, you know, I had to, at the same time, you know, I had to find my own way. I'm like, these guys are actually pretty good, you know, great people also, but I gotta find ways to keep up with them, or, you know, if not starting to, you know, finish a little bit higher than them every now and then. But yeah, and then yeah, 2006 was when I picked up my PBA card for the first time, and I've actually been a member since then. Um, Instead of you know, applying for the PBA membership, I actually went the route. I was like, you know, watching the pros, and, you know, different ways to get your membership. I was like, I want to, you know, I don't want to just go out there and just, you know, say, hey, I'm a PBA member. Like, I wanted to bowl it as a non-member, and, you know, and earn it that way.
Well, I think one of the most interesting things that you did tell me about was that in your upbringing, and due to some injuries and some different things, you have a unique path, a journey, where you bowled traditionally, then you bowled no thumb, then you bowled two-handed, and now back to traditional. Tell us more about that and what led to all of those changes.
Yeah. So yeah, growing up, you know, especially with the way technology has changed over the years. I remember when I first got my first reactive ball, and I was like, man, how can I get this ball to hook? And I think I was around 13 or 14 at the time, and I was like, I was just, you know, just happened to be practicing, and I was like, let me take my thumb out the ball, and then so I was like, I think the first few shots, I think the ball just flew, you know, way past the head pin. I was like, that's the kind of reaction I'm looking for. But I was like, let me move, you know, keep moving left. Yeah, at the time I only had like one or two bowling balls, you know, one plastic, one reactive, and then so yeah, so I stuck with that for quite a while, up until I believe it was 2007, 2008, and it was actually, it just so happened to be within a year or two of when I first got my PBA card. I remember I was playing basketball with a group of friends, and somehow I ended up dislocating my wrist in two different spots, and then yeah, I actually, instead of going to like urgent care or ER, I actually slept with it that night, and then yeah, a close friend of mine recommended to me to, he's like, why don't you try, like, you know, like an acupuncture doctor, to, you know, to see, you know, if, you know, what kind of fix they may be able to do it over there. So yeah, so went in with him, and literally within a minute, like the doctor there, it's been a few years since I've seen him though, but yeah, he looked at my wrists, and he was like, oh, your wrist is dislocated. And I was like, oh, it is. And then he just popped it right back into place.
Oh, wow.
You know, sitting just like how I am now. Like, I jumped out of my chair, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty good. But you know, just to heal the tendons and stuff like that. Took a couple weeks off from bowling, and instead of going, you know, kind of like easing myself back into it, you know, at the time, you know, in the early 20s, you know, I just want to go like full speed ahead. So started bowling again, and I think literally within the first few shots again, I felt the same kind of injury. So I think it ended up dislocating again. Went back to see him. Went back to see the same doctor again, and he's like, how do you dislocate it again? I said, you know, just like I told you, I was like, I think I jumped back into it a little too quick. So I took a couple months off. Just so happens at the time, I was actually working at one of the local bowling alleys here, and yeah, on my days off, you know, I was like, you know, I would throw shots left-handed, I would throw shots left-handed. I'm like, I don't know how I can, with throwing no thumb, it actually puts, a lot of pressure on both, your wrist and your hand. And I was like, how, what direction do I want to go? So I literally spent hours watching like Jason Belmonte videos, Oscar videos. I was like, well, let me try this two-handed thing. And like I was able to, just practice motions, here at home and time I had in the bowling alley. So I ended up sticking with that for about, I want to say it was about 2 years. And because even back when I was bowling as a no thumb bowler, I naturally had a, pretty high backswing. But I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but for as high as my swing went, it kind of affected when I was bowling as a two-hander. So the right wrist felt fine. The only problem is with having the higher backswing, I ended up having issues with my left shoulder. And this happened to be in the middle of our league season. I bowled it, even as a two-hander, like I bowled a few local tournaments and may have bowled a couple regionals, like I said, because I was still hanging on to my membership. And even though I could have, just sat out for the year and, just pay my dues, I was like, let me see how it goes, because I mean, certain times that you never really know like what can happen. Yeah, and then I believe it was late 2008, maybe early 2009. I think in the middle of that winter season, I had a kind of like self regroup. I'm like, let me go back to my roots, and because this left shoulder is hurting too much that I can't pull the ball across my body. Let's try putting put the thumb back in the ball. Got to chatted with the pro shop that I affiliate with over at Sports Plus, Jim Lewis, great ball driller, and I told him, I was like, I think I need to put my thumb back in the ball, because I was like, I've been around the game too long, I can't just I don't really want to walk away from it with due to injury. So
must be terrible to be that good in every regard, to be able to do it three different ways. And
yeah,
we're here to talk about your OT 300 game. Of course, you did that twice, but you've actually bowled 300 each of those different ways, which I think is pretty awesome too.
Yeah. To shoot the one that actually quite surprised me quite a bit was actually pulling off the 300 two-handed. I think I may have done that probably about 6 or 7 months in. And at the throwing it two-handed, the ball roll for me was a little bit different, but at the same time, like I was still able to see the ball reaction that I was used to seeing with no thumb.
All right, so now fast forward a little bit to the Open Championship. Again, 2006, you joined the PBA. So obviously, you have the confidence in your game. You're a rising star on the East Coast. But it took until 2014 to make it to the big stage. That's something that kind of intrigued me, looking at your record and having a conversation. Tell me about that. What took so long for you to join us at the Open Championship?
So like I said, aside from the injuries, even with all the changes, I like to take things in steps. Bowl some of the local tournaments first. If I have success with those, then if the schedule fitted well, then I was able to bowl some of the regional events, and then obviously from there, go from local, bowl some regional stuff, and then if you're ready to bowl some of the national stuff, then you'll know, or at least you should have a pretty good idea, if you're ready to do any event like that. The Open Championship, between those years, and it's literally, you get, one shot in each event, and those are your scores. When I was used to, especially with like the regional events or even some of the majors that I bowled, Masters, U.S. Open, you get multiple games just in qualifying, so you could afford those one or two bad games in any of those squads. But yeah, with the nationals, it was kind of intimidating to me at first, and then I believe originally I got invited to go in 2013 with Billy Blaney, same group that I actually went with for my first year in 2014, and then so as soon as they got back from 2013, I kept hearing like how good of a time that they have both on and off the lanes, and I think that it took quite a bit convincing, especially from the handful of them that was out there with them, and they said they take about 5-6 teams. Said they had a full team available for 2014. Messaged, talk with a handful of my buddies, and who all happened to not have gone yet that year, up until then also. So we all kind of went at it, all as first timers, and regardless, we said we were just we're gonna go have a good time, but at the same time, we still wanted to bowl well.
And Darryl, coming out of the gates, obviously probably some nerves and excitement from being in the stadium, the first OC, walking down center aisle for the first time. But game 2, front 7, red strikes. And then you finished 268. So you got a little momentum. You got a few strikes heading into game 3, and then all of a sudden, you just don't stop missing. You keep striking. Talk us a little bit through what you were seeing and kind of what you expected heading into that first trip, and then to have not one but 2 runs at 300 in your very first event.
So the I flew in. I think most of us flew in quite a few days because I believe we bowled that Friday, Saturday, and that year that was my very first time in Reno itself. So I believe we flew in that Tuesday. I got to watch some of the squads on that Wednesday and Thursday. Just watching where some of the find the team that's looking like they're hitting the pocket, or if you could see plenty of strikes up on the board, and what are they doing, and then when it was time for my group to take the lanes out there, I think that first game showed there were quite a bit of jitters mentally, at least within myself there, but I think team wise, I think we shot just over 1,000 that first game, but within that 10th frame itself, I threw the same ball the entire squad, and then I think the excuse me, and then the 10th frame itself. And I was like, there's a little something there. I think the first game, I was kind of forcing a few shots there, and then we. I'm sorry, and started to migrate a little bit further left, ahead of everybody else on the pair, and then I think the rest of that block kind of spoke for itself there.
I would certainly say so, and obviously we're going to roll the video here in a second, but the final 3 shots, whole stadium watching. Let's kind of talk about your thought process going into that, and just kind of how you digested that moment.
Yeah. So yeah, in the in the later half of the second game, I think I was looking over about 4 or 5 pairs then, and I remember I believe it was Eric Forkel and his team were on the same squad with us, and I believe one of his guys also had the front seven also, and I think we were kind of like peeking at each other, and then I remember leaving the I remember I left that first 4-pin. Especially with the patterns that they are, it's kind of hard to you really don't want to give the pocket away, but at the same time you kind of want to be able to see the transition also, versus just waiting for your ball to go right through the head pin. And then I finished the 10th frame that game. I believe I threw a different ball on the fill, but just so happened still struck on the fill ball going into the last game. And then the third game, I think by the time I got 7, I think by the time I had the 6 or 7 strike that game, I was like, okay, we're not gonna miss the same move that we did the second game. So I think I want to say it was the last half of that game. I think I was kind of just cheating myself, half board, every other shot, and the that 10th frame. I was the anchor bowler that year. Definitely remember that. But we were one of the last ones to finish on the squad. It was a pretty big squad as far as I remember. I think we had like 56 teams or so. And I'm watching the lanes on both sides. I was like, they're all going dark, and I was like, man, we're one of the last ones done. But I was like, next, get up in the 10th frame. I was like, man, this is getting quiet in here. I'm trying not to pay attention, to anything going on behind me. If I remember correctly, I think after that, especially after that 9th frame, I don't think anybody said a single word to me. First shot in the 10th, I think that's when the heart rate started to spike quite a bit, and then before I got up on the 11th one, I can't quite recall, but I think I stopped halfway in my approach. Something just didn't quite feel right. So step off the lane, just reset. The 11th shot I remember was I thought it was a little bit inside, but because of the pattern length, and me kind of cheating the moves slightly, I got into a pretty fresh part of the lane to where my ball kind of just scooted down lane a little bit cleaner to get to the pocket. Kind of my own ritual that with the other 300s that I've had, and both in league and other like local tournaments also, just to calm the nerves a little bit more. I kind of give myself like an extra board, maybe 2, to move left with my feet, just in case I happen to wrench on it a little bit more at the bottom, because for even till now, like majority of my misses do happen to be a little bit left, so just to give myself the little compensate for a little bit of the little bit of the miss, and kind of give myself a little bit more area further down lane. And once I got up there on that 12th shot, I was like, okay, this is real. I don't know what's gonna happen, or that, here at home, you don't shoot 300, like you're going to hear it from everybody in the bowling center. Whether they, chant your name and then, yeah, I believe I stepped up, and that probably, that was easily the most nerves I had ever been on any shot. And I let that one go, and my body kind of just like carried me like off this lanes, and I'm like looking over my shoulder. I'm like, is it going to strike? Is it going to strike? And then, yeah, when I saw the 10 pin get snapped out, I was like, holy cow, like I'm in the middle of like our entire group over here. So, yeah, that was definitely quite an experience. Honestly, like I didn't really give myself, too much expectation going into the event itself. I was like, whatever happens, I felt like I've done, reasonable preparation for it. That, I was like, let's do well, and whatever happens, more than that is, that's just gonna be a bonus itself.
All right. So, Darryl, we do have a lot of questions for you. We want to know so much about Reno and the Open Championships 2014. We do have a video of that 300 as well. So we're going to watch that. We do have some folks telling us we're having some audio difficulties. I think if it's possible, if you're able to grab some headphones, I think that might solve the problem if you have those nearby, or if Jenny's available. In the meantime, Aaron and I, we're going to watch that video. We're going to talk a little bit. We'll stall for you. You're the star of the show. Grab a donut, grab some headphones. We'll talk 300s, and then we'll get going. We're not even halfway through. Still a lot to talk about.
All right, with that, Matthew, we'll take Darryl off the screen for a quick second, but we can still see him. We know he's around. Run to get some headphones right now. So let's see if we got the right video here. They're both named the same thing here when we bring the share screen up. So of course I picked the wrong one.
50-50 chance. And then who knows what the rate he's going. One every 3 years. We'll have a couple of years till the next one. But we'll set the stage a little bit while you're finding that. Again, in 2014, Darryl Carreon, a first timer at the Open Championships. We're at the National Bowling Stadium. Of course, what a place for your first event. And to be on such a stage, this is the final frame. It might even be just the final shot. As he said, things were pretty quiet at the NBS that day. Had the place to himself. And that special ball, there it is. The 10 snapped out. And 300. This celebration, a little calmer than the one we're going to see from 2019. But looking forward to that. What a moment. Looking a little different there. Got some hair, some glasses. So he can do it all. Also, some very special pants happening in that video as well. We'll talk about that. It looks like Mr. Carreon has come back, and hopefully we'll be all set here. Darryl, how does it feel looking back at that video again? You're at the National Bowling Stadium. You're in Reno. It's your first time. It's so much to the whole experience, and what a debut at the OC. You told us about the feelings and such. We got to see it there. But to relive it in such a way, first tell us again, just looking back, seeing it, and then tell us about those pants, man.
Hey, Darryl, I think you'll have to unmute yourself here.
All right. How's that?
I think we're good.
All right.
All right.
Problem solvers. Excellent.
Sorry about that.
We both 300s. We solve problems. That's what we do.
All right. One of my buddies, his wife now had a full video of, I believe it was the 11th and 12th shot, but yeah, between watching that and watching the video you guys put out, I was like, it kind of makes the hands a little sweaty, and yeah, it's to be in that kind of situation. It's, let alone, as my first trip in the bowling stadium. It's everything was like so surreal that you kind of just like, just gotta got to pace yourself down just a little bit, and just take it all in. Yeah, but yeah, I've probably watched that video couple hundred times. Let alone
appreciate the clip, by the way.
And and let alone the especially every time that date rolls around, on Facebook, Instagram, that always pops up in the memory there. But yeah, just watching that, it brings a little bit of the jitters, but the excitement at the end it was well worth it.
Well, that's not even the half of it. Of course, we'll show the 2019 video and we'll see a real celebration at that point. But you're talking to two guys who absolutely love Reno. We go there just for fun when we can. But to see the city and the stadium for the very first time, just in general, is pretty awesome. But as a bowler who understands the history of the event and the city and the building, before you're even on the lanes, tell us about just walking across the street, seeing the building, going up the escalator, seeing the venue itself, and going to the squad room, like the whole experience. There's so much that happened leading up to just that 10th frame and that celebration. But man, again, of all the places to have your debut and to have such a performance, that's pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I definitely wanted to give myself, the extra day, just to see it itself. I mean, the National Bowling Stadium itself, there's nothing like it. And just to go in, admire the place like that, get myself situated with, where everything is. And then, and then just watching some of the squads, watching everybody march out. There really is no other event like it. Do I wish I kind of did it a few years early? Yes and no, but if when injuries are in place, you just gotta know when it's your time to go.
Well, you've become a rising star at the OC for sure. We see right now you're in your man cave at home. Over one shoulder, you have that bowling ball that you got to throw that day at the NBS. We won't tell the folks yet what it is, for those who don't know. Also, the very special 300 plaque over the same shoulder. And then to the other side, your lucky pants that really have become an icon at the Open Championships. But first, as you know, because you have recently won a very special custom limited edition USBC Open Championships neck pillow to travel with. We'd like to give a few more away today on the show. So we would like the folks watching right now to tell us in the chat, what bowling ball was it that you threw on that particular day? You can kind of see the color a little bit. Maybe that's all you need. But we would like to give away some things and celebrate your success and of course, just the OC and everybody getting ready to head to Vegas in just a few months for the 2021 event. So folks in the chat, let us know what ball did Darryl throw for his first 300 game at the Open Championships, and we'll select a few winners for some of those commemorative neck pillows. In the meantime, Darryl, tell us again, you've got the trophies to prove it. It all happened, but the pants, the legacy, they are a legacy now. Aaron loves the story of the pants, and you wore them again when you shot 300 in 2019. So it's a thing. Tell us about this thing.
So the pants, they just happen to be, one of those things that just so happens to work quite a bit. Not just at the Open Championships. I've definitely worn them plenty of times at regionals. So even some of the bigger like local tournaments also. The buy itself was a little tricky. I think I just so happened to be looking for fresh pair of pants for some of the upcoming regionals that I was going to be bowling. I think I actually bought these pants. I want to say it was probably around 2012, maybe 2013. Give or take a year or two. I think I grabbed these off a clearance rack at I think like a JCPenney or something.
Man.
And I looked at the size, and so some of the comments that some people have mentioned, they're saying that they'd be lucky, to wear pants in 2014, let alone fit again in like 2019.
I was gonna say, props to you that you can wear the same pants 6 years apart. Number one, that's pretty awesome. You're really getting a lot of value out of that bargain pickup.
So the secret on these pants, actually, they're actually about 1 to 2 inches bigger than the normal waist size that I actually wear. But I was like the length felt good. The belt itself, I just have to go an extra notch just to keep the pants up. But I was like, little sneaky, sneaky luck of charm, I guess, if you whatever you want to call it. But
I don't hate the strategy. It's paying off for sure, and plenty of room for the donuts. As anybody who follows you on social media knows, about 40% of your photos are bowling, 40% or so is food and donuts, and then the rest is just family stuff thrown in there as well. But for a guy who lives on a diet of donuts and bowling, that's pretty awesome. And now we know your secrets as well. But I'd say anytime you step on the lanes, that's the secret for sure.
Yeah. Even the last couple tournaments I've bowled, and I think with the last couple regionals that I've bowled, the last time I might have worn them leading up to then may have been earlier this year at a Team USA trials, and one of my buddies bowling next to me, he's like, are those lucky pants? I was like, yes, they are. He was like, I'm not going to beat you today. So no, they've added a few extra dollars into the pocket, but
I would say so, and they're the originals. So I was going to ask that first to make sure that you didn't have like a few of the pairs.
No,
the original.
Just the one, I promise.
Now, you finished off a solid performance in 2014, that first event, and going to El Paso in 2015. You had the opportunity to come back as a tournament celebrity for the first time, be announced as a 300 shooter. But more importantly, you came to see Matt and I, prior to hitting to the lanes. And, part of the experience of shooting a 300 at the event is filling out all the paperwork, the award score form, the questionnaire that we have. And, you saw us early in 2015 and before you started. And, I believe Matt said, why don't you save the time, just fill out the paperwork now? And you actually did that. And 2015 didn't go as quite as planned, but eventually we got to use that piece of paper down the road, which was important. But coming back the first time, kind of getting that experience, something you may have seen on your squad the previous year. What was it like for you in El Paso to come back and kind of just get that nod from your fellow competitors and from the tournament staff that hey, this just wasn't a normal 300?
Yeah. Yeah, in El Paso, we had a pretty reasonable trip getting out there. We bowled the Bowls Journal a couple times leading up to our squad time for a team event, and instantly I was like, I've seen the scores from at the end of 2014. I've definitely peeked at some of the scores at what they were in El Paso, and I was like, this is gonna be a little different experience. Yeah, I mean, so, like I believe like statistically, yeah, I think El Paso was definitely one of the toughest years out there. But here. But at least walking out center aisle again, and hearing my name called, I was like, oh, so this is one of the bonus tokens of of what happens out here. But the facility itself, it's unreal to see a convention center space and have I believe it's like 50 or 60 lanes installed. And myself working in a fairly large hotel with a pretty big convention center itself, I'm like, man, it's unreal, like how they engineer and install everything just within itself, and not just the lanes, but all of the ball manufacturer booths, some of the retail shops around it also. But yeah, it's 2015 was more humbling as far as like performance wise. And I mean, I've bowled, like I said, I've bowled plenty of the major tournaments, in which the difficulty of, especially that year, I was like, I don't think I was quite prepared the same as I did for for the previous year.
Well, now you got to see really two opposite ends of things. You mentioned 2014 was a crazy high scoring year, and of course with two different patterns each year. You never know. It's going to be sometimes a little bit of a roller coaster. You got started when things were a little bit different, and of course the equalizer in 2015. But another great point that you made too is that you got to start things off at the one-of-a-kind National Bowling Stadium. But in your few short years, just 6 years at the OC, you got to see that awesome build in El Paso. It was ginormous. We even had the Bowler's Journal right there inside the venue. Then you got to see the stadium again. But, of course, the South Point Bowling Plaza coming to fruition in 2017, and then a different kind of build close to home in 2018. So really, in just a few years, you've seen all that the Open Championships has to offer, as well as two challenging lake conditions each year. But what an experience and what an opportunity. And you mentioned the appreciation that you have just coming from the industry that you do on transforming a space the way that we have since 1901, really, outside of the years in Reno and Las Vegas. But again, the struggles continued a little bit. I don't say struggles by some standards, but since the first 300 and into the second one, some challenges along the way, but you got to have this whole entire experience. Can you sum that up as a whole? Sometimes the bowling doesn't go as well, but you absolutely take advantage of being in the cities, seeing the venues, and going out and getting the cuisine and such. So it's more than just bowling, regardless of how it goes on the lanes.
Yeah. Yeah. With the me and my buddies, we definitely like to get out, especially if it's cities that we haven't been to before. Just like you said, El Paso, Syracuse. Syracuse was a little different, being able to actually drive to nationals versus flying in. But yeah, and then but the overall experience. 2017 in Vegas, I felt there was quite a few pins left out on the lanes. I remember for doubles and singles, the corner pins were a little tricky on the pair that we were on. But yeah, even if I'm not bowling well, I remember, yeah, our second team in 2017. I felt like as a pair, that was definitely a pretty strong pairing between our two teams. I believe our second team, when we finished our squad, I believe they finished just outside of the top 10. But working together with them, as a full pair, it really does take everybody, to work, as closely as possible. And with Open Championships, especially the way the patterns have been the last handful of years, they've been so demanding that you literally can't do it as a one-man show, especially if you want to win the Eagle for the team event. It truly does take everybody on the pair to help win, regardless of which team does better of the two.
Well, now we talked about that first 300, which did come in the team event, of course, in 2014, and similar story in 2019. And I really like this part of it. A lot of folks, they'll reach out throughout the months just to check in on things, see how things are going at the tournament or whatever. You yourself, you're very active, following us on social media, always jumping in, commenting, saying hello. and of course, making us a number one stop almost when you get to the event to come and just say hi and get caught up for a minute. And not because you need something, you don't need a locker token or anything. You just want to say hi, which is awesome, man. We appreciate that. But in Vegas last year, you're getting ready to come our way, and you sent me a message just to let me know that you guys were in the facility and would be headed our way soon. And regardless of what I'm doing, of course, I always try to make it out there. Sometimes get a little distracted and such. But I told you there was one guaranteed way that I would absolutely come out and say hi and talk to you. And it took you a minute, but you figured it out and you got the job done. Tell us about that conversation.
Yeah. Me, out of me and our group, usually I'm the early bird. So I'm always one of the first ones in, and, same is said for a lot of the tournaments that I go to. I figured, if you're going to have a good day, you're going to be the first one in, and hopefully the last one to leave. And then, I just happened to be sitting in the stands, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't think I've seen Matt yet today. He may be in his office, but I was like, yeah, let me just send him quick messages, and then it truly didn't quite click on me when you said the easiest way, and then so we take our march out onto the lanes. I was like, okay, so still haven't seen Matt yet. I don't see him on the concourse. Get through practice. We start bowling. Front nine. Okay, I still haven't seen Matt yet. And I don't know how you did it, but I think
ninja. Bowling ninja.
Yeah, and then I got up and so I remember my ninth shot. I just straight tug, and the ball barely clipped Brooklyn side and just washed out the entire right side. So I remember stepping off the lane area all the way back up onto the carpet section over there in the plaza, and just going through the motions. And then I threw the first shot in the 10th, and then like as I'm walking off the lanes, I was like, oh, there's Matt.
I'm not a small ninja. I got there quietly, but I cast a big shadow when I get there.
And then just so happens as I'm sure you'll pull the video for it. We were in the corner, so obviously like the only other action on the lanes is to my right, and I believe we had a buffer pair, couple pairs away from us, so we just had our two pairs in the corner over there, and I was like this is gonna happen again, isn't it? And I don't know what it is about getting up for my second shot in the 10th, but for some reason I had to step off again. Just kind of overdid the routine. My little pre-shot routine. Sat the ball down again, and I was like, okay, we've done this before, and let's stay behind the foul line and just let's pry this one off cleanly.
And with that, this is the perfect time to cue the video. So
we got the video and the perfect celebration following the video. And I saw him in the chat earlier. They call him Popeye.
Yeah.
But Popeye doing the some sort of Humpty dance to celebrate the 300 here. We did get all three shots in 2019, however. And the lucky pants.
There's going to be some pausing coming out here in just a moment, just so the folks can appreciate this. So we got that.
There we go. All right. It was fun trying to edit that one, but we did our best. That one got some discussion for sure. social media. It took away from the moment a little bit there, trying to steal the spotlight.
So
Tell us about this moment.
Yeah, what's going through your head in that particular screenshot?
So as soon as I got the ball off my hands, I was like, okay, this one's pretty good, if not better than the last shot in 2014. Emotions, emotions mentally, and then I turn around, I'm like, whoa, what, Popeye, what are you doing? Yeah, that was a little unexpected, but according to Popeye, apparently, yeah, leagues get the same treatment, but he's definitely the fireball of the group, if you will.
Definitely brought the energy, and of course, you got to have fun with moments like that. So,
yeah.
Shout out to Popeye for getting some buzz going about the OC, getting some buzz going about your second 300, and just having a good time out there.
It's Vegas, I guess.
So now, after your special dance there, you still were able to stay focused going into the rest of the day. Of course, at this point, you already knew the prestige of 300 at the OC. You already were a celebrity. You've been there once. This one came in game number 1, though, so there's still a lot of bowling left to go, not just in the team event, but overall. So I imagine just the mental situation, the toughness at that point, thinking that you've now had the best absolute start at the Open Championships. It's very easy to get lost in that moment and start thinking too far ahead, start thinking about all events titles and all kinds of different things. You followed that game up pretty well, but then things didn't quite finish as you had hoped. Tell us about handling that moment mentally, not only because you'd already been there having shot 300 at the OC, but knowing what the potential was, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, after that first game, and I was like, or at least within the last few years, I was like, I know team always starts. That's really is like the toughest part of the entire event is just weathering the storm on the first game. I mean, my team definitely helped pick things up again. Going into the second game, and thinking on to the last few years, here, especially with that kind of start, I thought I was like, this may or may not be a huge set. And I remember telling myself, especially after that first game, I was like, I've got 2 more games, and I don't think that they're going to get any much easier, or to have that kind of start. And like I said, there was a little bit of a luck factor in that first game. Like I said, going Brooklyn on the 9th frame, but yeah, there was a couple interesting shots earlier in that game, but yeah, I was like the transition. Without knowing what exactly what the pattern is, you can only see what's out there on the lanes. The transition between both lanes is they were quite significant. In which later in that block, I think majority of my downfall on the third game was just due to the right lane. Maybe could have changed balls a little bit sooner. Even in the second game, but with tougher conditions, it's really hard to give the pocket away. But thinking, a lot of times, you're thinking this is the right move, but really when your move's going to be, from here, instead of going here, you just got to go, change zones completely to, because you never quite know, what to expect in there, but to try to make that kind of a big move, let alone middle of a game, it's a tough gamble. It really is.
Aaron, you're gonna have to jump in here with all this right-handed talk. I don't know what this means or zones or whatever. Like, it's a lot different for me. So feel free to jump in and talk about that finish and then the rest of the way in 2019.
Well, I'm actually going to bring up a picture here because we mentioned the 2014 bowling ball, and folks, once again, leave that guess in the comments below of what ball Darryl used in 2014 to shoot his first 300 at the Open Championships. We got to see a pose for the shot there in the booth afterwards, after your 300 in 2019. But I've always been impressed since we've started following each other on Facebook and social media. You do all the things right as a staff player. I feel you're out there competing. Obviously repping your brand. You're out there on social media talking about the equipment all the time. I'm a little curious. Kind of getting off track for the OC here for a second. Just kind of your affiliation with Motive. How long have you been a staffer for them? And what's it mean to you to be able to represent them on the lanes and, be one of 32 players to accomplish this at, arguably one of the biggest tournaments out there?
Yeah. Joining Motive staff. I signed with them actually a couple months after. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was actually middle of the summer, 2014. And yeah, I got a message from Brett Spangler, our staff manager, and he said, and I just read the subject on the email. It said, "Welcome to the team, buddy." I was like, wow. I was like, I think I sent my resume like 6 months ago, but I was like, dude, this that was worth the wait. I've always been a fan of, especially like the smaller teams. And the brand itself, being family owned versus some of the other ball manufacturers, that's been around for years, decades. With the Motive brand itself, like everybody like literally treats everybody as family, and you. Just the way they treat everybody, both on and off the lanes. The personalities are really amazing, and you could for like other brands, you kind of how do I approach this person? Is now a bad time to ask them any kind of question or whatever, but no, it's just from what I saw, especially like the year or two that I began throwing the Motive equipment. Everybody that I encountered was awesome, just super approachable. And as when you're competing on like the professional level, whether it's regionals or national level, like you want somebody that could be easily approached also.
Okay, now following that photo, the 2019 Open Championships ended pretty well for you. Very respectable, 1889 all events total. And of course, a huge celebrity at the OC now for the rest of your career. Every year you come back, they'll announce you not only for the first 300, but for the second as well. Once that sinks in, how does that sound? Just knowing, you had the experience for a few years of everybody looking your way when they announced that you did it once, but to be one of 32 bowlers in 116 years to accomplish that, just hearing it out loud, how does that sound?
It truly is really humbling because even when you first told me, I said you're only the 32nd ever to do it. I was like, being quite the numbers guy. I was like that's it. But I was telling myself, I was like that's hard to do. To hear your name called, and actually when we walked out to the lanes last year, for 2019, when they announced like the celebrities, and I heard my name was the only one called, and I was like, all right, no pressure. let's and then just to do it the first game, just as the game's going on, I was like, okay, we're just gonna take this one shot at a time. Like I said, a couple of shots early were a little suspect. I was like, let's just throw good shots and let's see how far we can get into the game.
Now, how does the second one compare to the first, and how did the first help during the second one, if at all?
Condition wise, definitely the second was definitely tougher. I feel like the patterns itself. I mean, I think we were looking at about like 4 or 5 feet different, and looking at where I was game 3, back in 2014 to where I ended up, or let alone to where I started game 1 of team. It really was like two completely different parts of the lane. But just that's why we practice. You gotta be able to play. There's 39 boards on the lane, and you gotta to be able to have any kind of success. Like you gotta know how to use not all 39, but at least most of them.
So now that you've been there, you're not scheduled for your next 300 for a few more years, so you've got some time to focus on other things. You do get to return to the South Point Bowling Plaza the next 2 years, something I'm sure you're looking forward to, someplace you've had success. Then you get to see the National Bowling Stadium again. But in the meantime, while we wait for the next 300, what kind of goals do you have at the Open Championships now that you're comfortable, your career's off, you have some good momentum, some experience, and understanding the history and such a little bit more? Again, just 6 years in, but what can we look forward to expecting from you over the next couple of years while we wait?
Because of the number of entries, to win an Eagle, that's to me it's beyond huge. You have 15,000-20,000 entries just within a single division, and the odds are way worse. If you want to compare it to golf, I mean, there's one winner, but I every year I like to look to see exactly like what place I finish in exactly, and I feel like at least within the all events itself, I'd like to finish at least within like top 300 for any of the years, and like I said, because of the thousands of entries, just to finish that high up, that to me that's doing some bowling. One of the things that I get in actually every year, prior to the start of the team event, is doing the optional entry for the Team USA qualifying. That tournament alone is humbling in all senses, because bowling with some of the top amateurs and even some of the top professionals, and then you throw in the top youth across the country. It's that itself also is a humbling experience too. But I figure if with the based on my national score, if I happen to get one of the automatic entries into Team USA trials, at least for me, like I feel like that's a pretty good year.
Okay.
Absolutely. And, we got to see you at the Team USA trials in 2020. And as you mentioned earlier, you liked being there early. So usually we were already there in the venue because we get there way too early. But, you were always one of the first faces we saw when the men were bowling the early squad, and occasionally brought donuts. So we definitely appreciated that. But, what was that, that tournament, is definitely something different on the USBC schedule. 5 different patterns over 5 days, a different type of scoring system. Just talk about the grind of that event, going through 5 days and those different ups and downs throughout the course of the competition.
Yeah, with the 5 days of qualifying, not knowing what the patterns are up until the practice session, you literally have to first you got to trust yourself with it, and then you got to trust the equipment that you bring out there. Flying with, if I could, I would take, 12, 15, 18 bowling balls with me. But, to take your best 9, or at least that's how many I took this year, to take your best 9 and you're already got to assume that, you're definitely bowling with the best in the country. And like I said, both youth and adults. It's true. It's really humbling, to see like all the talent that's out there. And you just got to take it one day at a time. And like you said, the scoring format daily is a little bit different, but you really got to have 5 pretty good or consistent days, and then to have a rough start out there as I did this year. Because this year just so happens day 1 was one of the toughest patterns that we did see throughout the week. It's you just gotta pace yourself, mentally through it, and just kind of weather the storm, regardless of what the scoring pace is like. And like I said, because you really don't know what to expect as far as like condition wise. Once you get out there, it's just you have to be ready for almost any situation.
Now that you've had some success on the national stage, you've been in the spotlight. You did tell us earlier that the 2014 Open Championships actually was the first time you had a chance to travel out west to compete. So everything's been pretty much east of the Mississippi for you to that point. To go to that event for the first time, I'm sure you had expectations of what it was all about. Maybe the folks prepared you, maybe they didn't. And then, of course, team trials, totally different animal in itself. You've talked Masters and US Open and different events. But now that you've had the opportunity to experience some of these different stages, has it been what you expected? Has the Open Championships given you what you expected from that atmosphere? Or is that something you had to see to believe? Or has it even become more comfortable as the years have gone on for you?
Yeah. Obviously, after the first year, I was like, yeah, the Open Championship, that's definitely one of the top on the list. As I set my tournament calendar, within the season or throughout the year, to do what I did especially that first squad, I had no expectations of let alone I was gonna be able to do something like that. Just to go in, wanted to do well. And then any honor scores, winning, stuff like that, to me that's a bonus. And that's almost the same kind of mindset that I go into at a lot of the tournaments now is, let's do well. And if you're the last one bowling, if you win, bonus. Make match play. All right, we're having a good day. Get the win. Okay, that's a nice little bonus itself. But going to the Open Championships, it's you can't expect to. Well, I'm sorry, you can't say you're going to want this to happen. You're going to want this to happen. It's just you really have to pay attention on the lanes and work as a group, both in the team event and doubles and singles, because doubles and singles, everybody affects the lanes that's on there with you. So you still want to see everybody succeed, but you definitely have to do it as a whole also.
Now, we've talked a lot about bowling over the last hour or so. Before we get to the point and the part that everybody wants to hear about, and Aaron definitely wants to talk about, we'll transition out. Tell us, if you can sum it up over the last 6 years, the Open Championships, the things that maybe drew you to it. What is your favorite aspect of the whole Open Championships experience? And if it's hanging out with us and being interviewed, that's cool. You can say that. But really, if you take the whole thing into consideration, again, you've been able to travel west. You've seen the stadium. You've potentially driven to Syracuse, which is nearby. You've seen the build in El Paso. So you've really experienced it all in a short time. But what is your number one thing that draws you to the Open Championships every year?
Oh, I think just being able to go out, as a group, whether it's just your one team, two teams, haven't seen groups out there, in 40 to 50 40 to 50 teams. It takes a lot of work, both for the crew running the tournament, the group's organizers, just getting out with even if it's just as guys, we always find a good way to at least have a good time both on and off the lanes. And like I said, going to the cities, like El Paso, Syracuse, and just admiring the craft work that goes around, building large stages like that. It's beyond impressive to me.
Now, a lot of the experience does happen off the lanes, spending time with friends and teammates, as you mentioned. Each of these places regionally different types of cuisine. Bowling is hard work. You have to stay properly nourished, of course, to get through those 9 games. And you love donuts. That's plain and simple. That's a special word. It makes people smile. That's your thing. And you've been kind of known as the donut guy now. And we've talked about it. I've said it probably 50 times so far during this episode. Tell us about that, because we have plenty of photos like this. You have the pregame donuts. There's celebratory donuts. So there's different kinds for different emotions and what have you. Tell us about how this whole donut thing got started, and we're never going to let it go, by the way.
No, that's fine. No, so donuts has actually been probably all right. So if it's two things I've always liked in this life, it's donuts and bacon. Now, if I can get them in both, I feel like I'm a force to be reckoned with. I would say that donuts, or let alone breakfast as a whole, there's never a bad time for it. Diners are always open, IHOP's always open. Donut shops, there's no downtime or bad time to not have a donut.
I was gonna say, you've walked into the bowling center and somebody said, "Hey, you got some donut on your jersey," and most likely it's because it was messy, but literally, this is your jersey with the donuts on it. So celebrating the things you love, making you feel comfortable on the lanes, I'm sure, and hungry as well.
Yeah.
How's the hunger pains when you're wearing that thing?
Oh, that. And actually, I actually have that hanging here, right behind the lucky pants. One of my buddies, that's actually a staffer with Coolwick. Is trying to talk me into a couple jerseys. And actually, that one I did get right before Team USA trials earlier this year. And he sent me a couple designs. I looked on their website. I was like, Joe, I want this one. Let me know how much. I don't care. So like just the donut love itself. I mean, it's you never leave upset after having a donut or two. And actually, what just something I happen to do, bowling a couple of the local tournaments. I'll shoot a message to the tournament director itself, or they're even buddies of mine also, and say, hey, what kind of half dozen do you want? I don't mind. I don't mind bringing that up for you, because I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna get one or two for myself too.
So is there a pregame ritual? Is there an amount? Is there a kind? Is there a strategy? And is there a reward system? And is there any point where you've ever bowled so bad that you said, Darryl, you're not getting another donut for however much time? Like, have you ever taken it away from yourself because you didn't perform?
No, and actually, bowl win or lose, I'm gonna go home happy. Just so happens, like the last few tournaments, me and my buddy John have gone to, or even if he'll go to a tournament by himself and he'll shoot me a message as I'm bowling saying, hey, I didn't I haven't gotten out to a great start. First thing I'll say without skipping a beat is that did you have a couple donuts before you bowled? No, so like latest trend for me, I think it's been a couple chocolate with sprinkles right before the qualifying set, and then if it's a good day, I'll have some maple bacon on the way home.
Well, now before our very first edition of Inside the OC, Aaron was here. He can certainly tell you that it's true. I did some push-ups so that I would be ready for the podcast. I want to be my best on camera, but I like your strategy a whole lot better. I feel that performance-wise, there might be a stop at Duncan before next week's show, perhaps. I certainly like this. And then Aaron, his performance typically is worth at least a dozen or so. So we'll kind of measure it from now on. How did you do today? It was a X number of donuts performance with a dozen or so being the number one. So we appreciate that. Certainly some fun and some deliciousness there. But again, how you fit into those pants after all these years, certainly a mystery. Now we know that you have some room to grow, which is very important as well. Good strategy there. But we have some real questions, and Aaron's waiting. We'll see if Aaron, do you have any donut related questions or any life related questions before we move on?
Of course. Now you mentioned chocolate sprinkles. That's borderline classic donut right there. You talked about the maple bacon. That's a little more exotic. So what's if you had to pick one, like what's your go-to flavor donut?
Oh, so my favorite go-to and place, just give them a little plug here. Duck Donuts. Don't even ask them like what's on it. Just ask for bacon in the sun. Simply put, maple bacon and a caramel drizzle right on top. You really can't tell what time of day it is once you bite into one of those.
Right. Now, I've never been one for moderation. That's certainly a challenge. But what is the most donuts you think you could eat in one sitting? And we're gonna probably hopefully watch this happen at some point. But if you were just not being responsible, because I'm sure you have all the willpower to be able to just have one or two and let it go. But I cannot do that. But if you're gonna sit down and have some basic donuts to really get your day going, how many do you think you can put down?
All right. So depending, so Duck Donuts itself, like they're actually made out of cake donuts. So they're a little bit heavier compared to like Krispy Kreme, Dunkin' Donut, like your yeast donut. So those are a little bit lighter. I've probably had about 4, maybe 5 Duck Donuts at most in one sitting, but yeah, one of my buddies actually told me before, and I thought it was crazy until he told me how many people actually do it. He said there's a I believe it's a Krispy Kreme 10K somewhere in North Carolina, and he says you have to run a 5K. At the 5K line, you have to put down a whole dozen Krispy Kreme donuts.
Holy cow. And
run another 5K after that. I looked it up. I was like, that's a legit thing that happens. Would I ever probably want to do that? I was like, I could barely get through a 5K myself. And that's without the donuts.
All right. Well, I see this happening at some point. I also see a podcast spinoff at some point as well as maybe a challenge with Aaron Smith. How many do you think Aaron Smith could take down? If we're talking Duck Donuts, how would you compare that to a Krispy Kreme dozen? You mentioned a little bit more dense and a little more challenging, but Aaron's a kind of a sneaky guy. I bet he could handle some donuts. But what's your guess there? And when are you guys gonna face off?
Ooh, now if we're talking like the regular yeast donuts, I'm sure. I think me and Aaron can go donut for donut with each other. And anywhere 8 to 12 without falling out of a chair. But yeah, we might have to schedule that in one day.
I like the sound of that. Very much so. I think I can knock out 8 to 12. That's in play. I think that's a fair amount. Matthew, what do you think about
folks? You heard it here. We've already got the team trials scheduled for 2021. I know Darryl said there's a possibility he won't be able to make it this year. We did just announce that that'll be happening in the first week of January in Las Vegas. Right now, tentative, still subject to change. Details available on bowl.com. But if that does happen, we certainly will carve out some time. No matter what, it's Vegas, so it's never asleep. We can find a dozen or 2 dozen or 3 dozen somewhere, and we can make this happen. Aaron Smith, I could see you within a reasonable amount of time with being an 8 to 10 guy at the Krispy Kreme before getting distracted. We've seen it happen at the Texas Rangers and some hot dog action. So I'm ready for this. And whether I participate or I'm just the video guy, this seems like a perfect live episode for Inside the OC. We're going deep inside to see the real talents off the lanes. But I feel that before we get too far off track as well, this is a perfect way to wrap things up. The most delicious ending to today's podcast. We certainly appreciate it. Darryl Carreon, Aaron Smith, any final questions for one of 32 people in the world with multiple 300 games at the Open Championships?
There's one thing I've really taken away from this podcast, and we talked about very early, you're keeping your workouts up, so you can have the extra donuts. So like you just need to come out with like the donut maintenance workout program. And I think that would just sell through the roof. I mean, I would sign up for that, and I don't work out at all. So that would be, there's the motivation there, donut maintenance, to just work out and get in shape, get bowl in shape, have donuts. It's perfect. Work out. But Darryl, since we first met you in 2014 with that big 300 at the NBS, it's been an absolute pleasure to see you every year, and always checking up on us here and there and keeping up on social media. We definitely appreciate the opportunity to catch up with you here, since we didn't get to do it, at the National Bowling Stadium this year in Reno. But we certainly look forward to the next time we get to chat with you. And of course, just a big thank you for joining us here today, taking some time out, talking donuts, talking bowling, and letting us learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Matt and Aaron, for having me on. This is definitely a blast, and definitely look forward to seeing you guys, soon enough. Hopefully, all this COVID stuff clears up in a good time.
All right. Well, folks, we appreciate everybody tuning in for today's episode of Inside the OC with Darryl Carreon. 2 300s at the Open Championships 2014 and 2019. It's always fun to kind of get the stories from behind the scenes, off the lanes, off the scoreboards, and a lot of fun stuff today. Maybe we went off in some crazy directions, but it's a whole lot of fun, and we appreciate everybody sticking with us. We're able to give away some pillows today, so we're going to take a look and see who our winners are. We'll get those shipped out as well. USBC Open Championships neck pillows for travel to and from the Open Championships. Again, registration is open for the 2021 event in Las Vegas. Check that out on bowl.com. And for those of you as well wanting to come to the Team USA trials, check that out on bowl.com too. Aaron Smith, we still have a few months until those events are happening, but we're going to be back in action next week. More stuff coming up on Bowl TV. Busy days. Tell us what's coming up.
Yeah, next week we'll kick off the week with Gigi Mason on the PWBA podcast. She had the great appearance in Good Morning America a couple of weeks ago. So catching up, learning more about that experience and just what she's been up to over the past few months. On Wednesday, Bowling Explained will feature Stephen Padilla, USBC Director of Coaching and Gold Coach. And, of course, Inside the OC. Matt, I'll let you talk about that show for next week.
Coming up next week, we'll take things back to the National Bowling Stadium once again, 2016. We've got regular team champion Brent Bowers. He's a former Chuck Hall, Star of Tomorrow, Wichita State graduate, and national champion, and very, very busy in the proprietor side of things, working as a general manager in Wichita, and some familiarity there with the women's championships, which was just there. So looking forward to hearing kind of the full perspective from Mr. Bowers about his career on the lanes and now behind the scenes. So looking forward to that. Again, should be another very entertaining show. Again, we do appreciate everybody tuning in for today's episode of Inside the OC. Darryl, Aaron, I'll give you both a baker's dozen for today's performance, 13 donut performance. We certainly appreciate it. Everybody for tuning in. If you have any questions along the way, along the next week, let us know on social media. We'll get those answers for you. But for now, folks, that's the news for now. We'll see you on the links.